So recently I've been increasing the amount of spot removal in my decks across the board, and in the past few EDH games, I've noticed something about my games. It's subtle, but it has a pretty big impact on the amount that those who do it and don't do it in my playgroup win. It's a few ways that you might be playing your removal incorrectly. Greetings and good games everyone, I'm Ruben from Manascrew. Removal is our topic for today, and we're going to start out by talking about the type of removal you have. Is it the correct type? So what types of removal do you have in your deck? Is your deck stacked with murders, doomblades, and malicious afflictions? Or are you stuffed to overflowing with vandal blasts, back to natures and naturalizers? And which of these is the correct way of putting removal into your deck in EDH? Well, the answer is neither. Or kind of both if you have these as supplementary removal, but these types of removal are narrow, and there's no worse feeling than having a naturalize in your hand as a Kozilek is swinging at you, or a murder staring down your opponent's omniscience or rooftop storm. The type of removal you want to fill the majority of your removal slots in Commander needs to be versatile. Anguish Unmaking, Utter End, Beast Within, these are all great for this. Allowing you to remove pretty much anything, these types of removals tend to be a bit pricey or come with some sort of downside on the card. There's also the other downside that you're generally restricted to these three colors for these types of effects. Now obviously you can't just have this type of removal, especially if you're not in the right colors for it. And there are simply not enough in print in reasonable colors. I'm just saying that when you are considering your removal, you can do your best to put in a Beast Within over a Lignify. The next point is a little more abstract and difficult to wrap your head around, so let's create a scenario. You're playing in a 4-player game and one of the players is playing Voltron. Let's just say it's a Traxos deck. And you've had a Crow's Grip in your hand for a few turns. The Traxos player goes to cast Eldrazi Conscription, targeting Traxos who has Swiftfoot boots to give him hexproof. Do you A, remove the boots and hope someone else can deal with Traxos himself? B, remove the conscription once it comes down, or C, do nothing? Well, surprisingly, in my own opinion, C and do nothing is the correct option here. I guess the point I'm making here is about answering half of a problem. Now this is very situational. If someone is going to go infinite and kill everyone around the table, and you have a way to stop that at instant speed, you should 100% take that action. But in a scenario like the one I've put forwards, I think it's better to not deal with the problem rather than only answer half of it. Put yourself in the mind of the Traxos player. You are living the dream and are about to swing at someone with a 1717 Annihilator 2 commander, and someone took that away from you. Who are you going to swing that at? So why would you answer only half the problem? Why would you remove the Eldrazi Conscription? In this scenario, I mentioned that the game was a 4-person game. I said this specifically because, politics aside, you have a 66% chance of Traxos not being swung at you. There are 2 other players. This means it's more likely to hurt your enemies than it is to hurt you. And here's a tip. When the threat player goes to combat or goes to use their ability, all you have to do is ask one question. Who are you swinging that at? And their eyes will drift from you to your open mana, and the reply will almost always be, well, not you. Now this isn't always the case. Sometimes you have to act early before it's too late, but for these instances where the problem is combat based or only going to be swung at one player, you should probably wait until as late as possible. And a lot of this comes down to being able to correctly assess threats that sit across the table from you, and that's a whole video in its own right. Anyone who has begun playing begins to pick up on a concept in Magic the Gathering, one that is a huge early level up moment for most players. Instant speed is better than sorcery speed. By a large margin. You can more easily respond to threats, handle situations when they become problems, and all in all, you have more flexibility with when you choose to handle your opponent's threats. This is nothing new, this is sort of mid-tier Magic, so why am I mentioning it here? Twice as many people run Utter End than Vindicate. Sure, maybe some of that is down to the exile facet of it, but almost the same amount run Mortify over Vindicate. Instants versus sorceries is a topic I could probably do a whole video on, and I don't want to make anything patronizing here for anyone who already knows this stuff, but it is seriously important to make sure that a significant portion of your removal is instant speed. Now this next point is a little addendum onto this. There is an even better form of removal that says split second. Corrosive Grip is probably the most famous version of this, but also in our format the ones that come straight to my mind are Sudden Spoiling and Word of Seizing. Now, split second is even better than instant speed, because a lot of the game-ending combos are things like Gravecrawler with Phyrexian Altar, a way of infinitely blinking things, a way of generating infinite tokens, things like this that you just can't deal with, because if you cast your removal, they just respond by doing the thing infinite more times. This is why including Corrosive Grip and Sudden Spoiling in your deck essentially can nullify most of these types of combos, or at least buy you a turn. Like I said, instants versus sorceries is enough for a whole video, so if you are interested in that, give me a comment down below. When you remove a threat in Commander, you are not just putting that player at a disadvantage by removing one of their cards, you're also bringing yourself down by having to spend a card to remove it. It's not like in Standard where if you remove your opponent's threat, you're both being brought down, but their target is likely more game winning than your removal. If someone is about to go off and win the entire game and you Corrosive Grip their combo piece, you have to make sure your table gives you something. You saved everyone there at a cost to yourself. They owe you. Even if it's just a turn where they don't attack you because you've tapped out your mana to do this, this is another reason why using your removal at the last possible second is best. Because in Commander, someone else may see this as a threat and use theirs first. Another aspect of politics that comes into answering things in EDH is saving someone's life. Now here's the thing, if you are on an equal playing field and one of your opponents is going to kill another one, you should in most situations just let the person die. However, in some specific board states, it can actually benefit you to keep the person alive. If one player is miles ahead and is playing a deck that just swings one big creature, then you want to extend the amount of time before that creature will be swung at you. Saving another player who's near death can sometimes buy you a whole turn where the player who's trying to kill them has to keep trying to kill them. And if you keep them around by Maze of Ithing a creature that's going to kill them, they may remember you were the one who helped them. Obviously this is a very situational option, but you should remember that your removal can be used to gain favor around the table, if you have any spare going around. In my early scripts I started talking about counterspells, but honestly they're pretty complex decision point wise. One of the most complicated decisions you can make in Magic is when you want to counter something, to the point where that's also probably a whole video in itself. So if you're interested in these, please comment below. And thank you all for watching. I've been Ruben from Manascrew. Thank you so much for enjoying this video, and I hope this episode has been of some use to you, maybe revealing some ways that you can try and implement these into your Commander games. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments below, especially if you have other topics that you need some guidance on. I hope to see you all in the next video, which will probably be a deck tech? Or something else? Who knows?